Episode 2.
We are going to have to make this a normal thing, even if it kills us. It might kill us.
It
might kill us.
This week, we have an interview with an activewear expert who is so good, we might hate her.
Yeah, I think we would wish that she's not as good and not ruining our lives in this local area.
And she gives us a lot of really great tips on how you can get into activewear if it's a category you want to get into. We also have to talk about an eBay feature that I think is going to be a big problem.
Oh yeah, it might be the single worst feature on eBay to this point that I've ever seen.
Yeah. But before we get into that, we do need to address the fact that we've been gone for a week.
All right. This might be my fault. For this, I will take the blame. I will own my part in this. We had a bit of a geocaching incident. I think that's fair to say. For those of you who are unfamiliar, geocaching is basically a real-world scavenger hunt for adults, or for anyone really. And you go around and you find hidden caches and you sign logs and it's a great time. It's a wonderful pastime. This one in particular was rather unassuming. It was right near a parking lot. We thought it was just going to be a quick, easy one. I didn't expect my wife to leave me for dead in the woods. So this one is in a storm drain and it's in the side of a hill. It's the worst experience. It checked off every box of my nightmares. It's underground. It is claustrophobic. It reminds me very much of the we all float down here moments. So no, it was 0 out of a billion. I do not recommend, and I've been kind of recovering.
So are we over the trauma?
Kind of. We do have video of it. It's my own little Blair Witch style experience, and don't ever go to this geocache. If you are doing it and you're from the local area, do not go to this one.
And any local geocachers or just geocachers in general, I would love to hear if you have harrowing experiences as well. Leave those in the comments because that's amusing and also maybe a place for us to travel just to really freak Tyler out. So let's get into the eBay feature because I think this is something we really need to be talking about. I don't know that I've heard anybody talking about it.
No, I don't think anyone has really acknowledged it to any level.
Maybe we're the only ones that are worried. So if you don't know, eBay has announced that they are going to start allowing pictures on their feedback. Now, from a business perspective, I can understand that what they're trying to do, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, is allow for buyers to kind of include photo proof of things that they may have had a problem with, or maybe even happy things of things that they liked. So they might include a picture of a piece of a plate or some other collection piece that they added to their collection, then give you a nice photo of their collection.
There are positives.
Right.
I am very much worried about the ability for abuse on this. I'm worried about the TTP, the time to inappropriate pictures of male anatomy.
Oh, so P equals D.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I am also concerned about that. I think as a woman, we've all received those photos that we don't want to receive, right? So we've now given another avenue for said photos. So there's that concern.
There's the ability for just explicit content. There's the ability for cursing by picture.
Are we talking about birds?
There's the bird. There's just writing down on a piece of paper horrible things. There's threats. Yeah. There's violence. There's so many opportunities for for really uncomfortable moments with the pictures.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of places for that. And I mean, we've had experiences with this in our life in general where we had, I don't know if anybody plays Animal Crossing, but there's a little bulletin board in Animal Crossing, and in one of our groups we had, I guess, the P and TTP added to bulletin boards, and we had to deal with that because we offered a canvas for that and we should have expected it.
People are going to do inappropriate things for the sake of that. It also, in my mind, is going to open the doors for further harassment online. There's already a problem with people being harassed online. All across the internet, it's a big and scary place. I think the bigger problem for me is that it's going to be there until eBay removes it.
Yes, and I don't know about you guys, I don't know what your experience has been, but for us, having eBay remove feedback has been spotty at best. I mean, sometimes they're really great and they do it right away. Other times they don't do it at all. Other times they're like, well, they drag their feet. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want a explicit or harassment style photo.
It's going to be there up until they decide to remove it, unless they have some kind of built-in moderation where that it's going to be a very serious offense for the person posting that, which they're going to have to do, but it's going to be there for some amount of time before it's resolved.
I just had a really creepy thought while we're talking about this, but I mean, we make sales locally too, and I think of somebody just being really awful and coming by and taking a picture of my license plate, or coming by and taking a photo of my house and posting it as a harassment.
Through the window.
Yeah, just really creepy type things that would really make me uncomfortable to continue selling with them there.
eBay itself is not above going to your house and sending creepy things, so I can only imagine.
This is true. So I'm just curious if you guys have heard about this. What do you think about this feature? Are we being too much? I mean, are we overthinking it? I admit I have a sweatshirt that tells me I overthink, so I get it. But let us have a conversation down below about this, because I think it's something we need to talk about. Next up, we have an interview with one of our absolute favorite local resellers, Passport and Pizza Pies. She is a activewear expert, and she knows so much about eBay, and she also has a booth that she tells us all about. It's so exciting. I cannot wait to speak to her. So let's get right into that interview. So hello, could you tell us your name and how long you've been reselling?
All right, so I'm Kay. I've been reselling part-time for going on, I think this year is going to be 6 years.
Wow.
6 years, yeah. So
Okay, what platforms you sell in?
Poshmark, eBay. I occasionally list on Mercari and Depop when I actually have time, because I manually cross-list everything. And then I have my antique booth that's like a local place.
Oh, okay, so more than I thought. Specifically about your reselling niches, I know everybody has different ones, but which niche specifically do you like, and how did you get into that?
So activewear, of course.
Yep, you're the one that is taking all of it.
I'm the one. Sorry. I also like shoes, but yeah, activewear is what I really try the most to find.
This whole episode this week is kind of on problems on eBay. And I know there's a new feature coming out on eBay where they're going to allow people to include pictures into feedback. And without giving you our input, I was curious to know what you think about that, and also leading into how you think of eBay.
Well, I can judge by the look that she's giving us right now that it's not very positive.
I don't know. I just think it ruins the aesthetic for me if all of a sudden the feedback on your eBay is just going to have pictures in it. I also think that it gives buyers a way to leave you a positive, negative feedback on eBay. So kind of like a passive aggressive kind of deal. And I'm not a big fan of that. I personally wouldn't use it if I was leaving feedback for someone on eBay. I don't know. I don't think it's really that necessary.
She's much more optimistic than I.
Yeah, I was very much worried more so about the potential for abuse and people leaving obscene things or just
explicit pics.
Horrible things.
See, I hadn't thought about that, but now that you mention it.
Not looking forward to that. But
Yeah.
I know you have thoughts on eBay, and I know you started off reselling anyways on Poshmark. You did use eBay previous to that, but reselling. And I'm curious how you feel the transition has gone to selling on both platforms, and what your thoughts on eBay are at this point as a dominantly clothing seller.
Yeah, so like you said, I started on Poshmark just because Posh was easy for me. I had been on eBay I've been almost 20 years now. Next year will be 20 years that I've had an eBay account, but I kind of just did it as a hobby just to recoup some money when I stopped using stuff. But Poshmark was my first when I went into resale mode, just because of the ease of use. I could just open an app on my phone, take pictures. I didn't really have to worry about shipping anything because it's just built into the platform, which I personally like. And up until this year, after I started selling on eBay, which was probably a year after I started like a resale business on Poshmark, up until this year, it was my main platform. But so far in 2023, Poshmark is performing much better. And it's really weird for me because I have historically not had the best relationship with Poshmark. I did a whole video on my YouTube channel about why I hate Poshmark, and I was going to possibly break up with Poshmark. And yeah, so far that hasn't happened. So I'm thankful that I stuck it out with that platform, but they both have pros and cons like with anything else. So I do still like eBay, though I do love the ease of Poshmark with the shipping, but I hate the sharing on Poshmark. I wish that would just be eliminated entirely. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that thinks that.
It's definitely significantly more labor intensive in some respects on Poshmark. I'm curious, how do you feel about the different mindsets between Poshmark and eBay? Is there adjustments that you have to make for each listing, or is there just a different way you go about targeting the different markets on the platforms?
Different buyer mindset.
Yes, the different the different mindsets for each platform specifically to try to get the item sold wherever it sells, basically.
Kind of. So I used to, prior to this year, I used to do different pricing between eBay and Poshmark, because Poshmark, as most of us know, is where the trendier buyers go. eBay is just so large and all inclusive, basically, that I feel like, the people who are really into fashion are going to Poshmark and not flocking so much to eBay. So I did at some points kind of increase my price on Poshmark, $5-10, nothing major, but just to account for also the higher fees as well. But this year I have stopped doing that, and I just list everything at the same price. eBay, Poshmark. If I list anywhere else, it'd still be the same price. But since those are my main two, and I think that's part of the reason why Poshmark has done so much better for me this year, because I'm not, pricing differently based on platform. So everything just gets loaded everywhere at the same price. But yeah, I definitely do feel like Poshmark has the trendier buyers, the younger crowd. I'm in my mid to late 30s, so I don't
We're
really.
not going to get into that conversation. That's just to leave everyone with hurt feelings. No, thank you.
I don't really shop much personally on Poshmark, but I also don't really, to be fair, shop on eBay either. I just shop at the thrift stores when I'm outsourcing and buy stuff for myself that way. But I also like Poshmark because I can use stock photos there, which makes my closet look a little bit more appealing, I guess, aesthetically, without really threatening my account or anything. I've obviously had listings pulled because of using stock photos, but since it doesn't ding my account the way eBay does, I'm just happy to do that. So I try to find as many stock photos as possible and put them on Poshmark because I just like the way it looks.
I'm actually curious because your relationships with the platforms are almost inverse to mine, where I loved Poshmark and eBay was doing terrible, and now I'm vice versa, where Poshmark is doing awful and eBay is picking up the slack. I'm curious which way you do comps. Do you run comps on eBay or Poshmark, since you do the price point at the same number for both?
So I do them on eBay because I utterly despise having to unselect my personal sizes on Poshmark when I'm trying to run sold comps. So it's easier for me to just type what I need into eBay and click on sold in the filter, and then it's just everything is there.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it. I think if anybody is listening to this, make sure that if you're going to do the same price across, definitely do comps on eBay, because I did the opposite, where I did all my comps on Poshmark, did the same price across the board, and eBay did not respond at all. So I am now doing eBay comps, but it's definitely interesting to see that your Poshmark is doing better now that you're doing across the board.
I mean, I think you might actually benefit from trying that, just dropping your prices to eBay, because
with promoted listings, that may be the case. We will move into that at some point later. So in activewear, in case people are interested in getting into that, I know somebody specifically reached out to me today and asked about how do you get into selling activewear? What do I look for? So what pieces of activewear are selling the best? And are there any BOLO brands? So I mean like tops or pants or shorts or, that type of thing.
So the pants do the best for me as far as activewear. I don't pick up as much as like tank tops. I'll only pick up an activewear tank if it's $5 and under, and that's before my 20% off that I always use if I'm going to Savers. Tops, not great unless it's Lululemon. Specifically for Lululemon tops, you want to look for the Define jacket and the scuba hoodies. I know most people know the scuba hoodies, but the Define jackets are discontinued, and so they go for a really good price. For pants, if you're talking Lulu, Aligns do really well. The On the Fly jogger, that's another scenario where it's a discontinued style they don't make anymore. So people look for those. For brands, I personally love Vuori. I wish that I found that more. I think you guys recently talked about this brand in one of your videos. Am I wrong?
Okay. It was best brands according to ThreadUp.
Yeah, we've never found
We've
it.
never,
Thanks to you.
it's
Sorry.
not a thing that we have ever found.
To be fair, I've only found it a few times in our area. It's just, it seems like the people where we live just don't really look for that brand, or if they do, they hold on to them and never let them go. So I don't find it too often, but it always moves lightning fast for me. I also like Varley. Last year, my best brand for activewear was Athleta. This year, it's Lululemon, by far and away Lululemon. So, I mean, those are basics. Most people find Lululemon Athleta, unless you guys, you're you and I steal them all. But Rory and Farley are my favorites to find.
And do you do any men's activewear?
Yep. I just found a pair of men's shorts. Granted, they were in the women's shorts section, but they were Lululemon men's shorts. And the men's does phenomenally better than the women's, to be honest. And also, I like selling to men in general better because they have less issues.
They're go with the flow, move on. It's close enough. We had a guy that bought something that was mislabeled as a woman's.
It was my mistake.
Yeah. And then he was like, "Don't worry about it. My neighbor got a free gift. It's fine."
I never had a problem selling to a man as far as like clothing goes. They know their sizes. To be fair, it's also a little bit easier for them to find things in their size versus women's because
I mean, a little bit easier. It is just worlds easier because it's literally the measurement. It's using measurements.
Yeah, the only downside to men's, at least in my opinion, is the sections are so small. I never can find much, but it's easy to get through it all. So
and the shoe section is just all of the shoes are destroyed for men because they just wear them until they are falling apart. I have several pairs of boots that have so many holes in them, and then I just don't throw them away. So it's just
I feel like that's pretty standard for a guy.
Yeah, it definitely is. So I don't want to disappear on you before we talk about your booth because I actually don't know a other local person that does clothing that has a booth. So I'm really curious if people are looking to get into a booth, what would you say the first thing that they should do is? How would they go about finding out where to go?
So I knew about mine because I had bought something off of Facebook Marketplace. It was like a boho rattan chair or something like that. And the person I bought it from, she had like a Facebook commerce profile at the time, and it stated that she sold at this specific antique mall. So I was like, oh, well, she has cool stuff. Let me go check out this booth. And so I went there a few times and I was like, oh, this would be so much fun for me, not monetarily, because at least for me, it hasn't really been like super beneficial for me in that regard. But it just was something fun for me to do because I like sourcing that vintage stuff, but I have a small house. And so I can't fit all the stuff in here that I would really love to fill my walls, everything with, because I am like a true maximalist at heart when it comes to my home. But I wanted to have a place where I could find the cool stuff that I would love to have that maybe someone else would love, and I could not have to store it in my house or in my shed, and I could just bring it to the booth and someone else will find it and love it and take it home.
But before we end that, we don't like to end anything on a weird note or anything like that. We want positive everything. So I'm curious if for people that are listening that might be struggling or see that their sales are slow or anything like that, do you have any recommendations for people to try to kind of keep them on the right track?
My recommendation is really just go at your own pace. It's really hard, especially on YouTube and social media, to compare yourself. And everybody says this, but I heard this quote a long time ago, and I'm sure you've probably heard it. Most of your viewers have probably heard it, but comparison is the thief of joy. And it's 100% true. And I just think that, take your time. Yes, sales can be slow. That's an ebb and flow of business. It doesn't have to be specific to resale. It's just how it is in the real world. My sales have been totally awful for a couple months now, but I just do what I can when I can do it. Schedule out some time if you have to, if that keeps you motivated. What I do is when I'm on break at work, I will sit and photograph a few items, get some things listed because, in the evenings when my daughter's home from school or on the weekends when she's here and not with her dad, I want to spend time with her. I don't want to worry about listing. So yeah, that's the advice that I would give is just do what you can when you have the time to do it and don't really stress about not getting it done or missing a day of listings. I promise everything will be okay and it'll all work out.
I think that's fair. Don't compare. It's not worth comparing your year 1 or whatever year you're in compared to someone else's year 15. It's going to lead to nothing but hurt feelings. And there's this mindset of if you're not always pushing yourself, you're not succeeding. And that is just not true for everyone because success is different for everyone.
Yeah. And hustle culture is extremely toxic in my opinion anyways. It's just calm down, guys. It's going to be okay.
All going to work out.
Yeah. Not everyone wants to make 6 figures reselling items. Some people just are happy making enough to pay their bills.
Or some extra funding. And some people don't want to go ever full time. Some people just want to be part-time forever and just have a little side hustle that just keeps them busy. Everybody comes from a different circumstance. And I think that's really important to remember in things like this. So yeah, just go at your own pace and take your time.
I think that's the best advice to leave this on. But thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you guys. I had fun.
I am so grateful that we were able to have her on. I hope that we can have all of our local reseller friends on here, but I'm so glad that she was one of the first. And if you want to follow her, make sure that you follow her on all of her channels, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you can find her. She has Passport and Pizza Pies. She gives great content every single week. And if you want to see her full interview where she gave us a tidbit about what she does with her daughter and how she teaches financial responsibility through reselling, it was really cool. You can join our channel. It's $1 a month and you will see the whole interview. I totally recommend it because she gives us so much great information. Have you ever gotten a mean review or something that just made you want to laugh, cry, scream, whatever? This is Mean Reviews.
This is Mean Reviews. We are hoping that you will all send in things of your own for us to add into this.
Yeah, so if you want to be part of Mean Reviews in a future episode, make sure you email the email address on the screen here with your clip. We can edit it for you, but let's get into ours.
Thumbs up, no improvement necessary, 4 out of 5 stars. I don't think that means what you think it means. There is room for improvement. There are no words. I'm speechless.
Oh, spare me the buzzwords. So your answer to encouraging words is toxic negativity, eh? Unsubscribed. Oh no, please come back.
That voice, scream emoji. I mean, I get it. I know my voice, and that's fair. That's fair, actually.
Like our makeup. Lips color are perfect. No more red, please. Oops. Let's get into fashion trends. I love this section because it tells you guys what is trending in fashion world, since we are clothing resellers, and what you should be picking up at the store.
This is my best, strongest part of the entire episode. This is my thing. Obviously, I mean, where else would you go for trends and fashion advice other than...
You're the pinnacle.
Yeah,
I really feel...
This is what peak performance looks like. You may not accept it, but this is the reality.
So the first one we have right now is quiet luxury. And from my understanding of quiet luxury, it basically means it's luxury items that are not yelling at you.
So it's basically it's very clearly a high quality item, but you can't tell what it is.
Yeah. It's very subtle. It's very demure. Now this has started to trend on TikTok, and I think it came from some TV shows. And you guys can let me know if you know more about that.
It's TikTok. It's always TikTok. TikTok is the world right now. It's my life. It's your life. It's everyone's life.
Yeah, and I think that this actually speaks to something that's happened in a wider format, right? For when it comes to wealth and money, this isn't new.
No, so I think this ties back to an expression that I heard a long, long time ago, well before reselling. It's money talks, wealth whispers. It's the the wealthy person is not going to go out of their way to flash it in your face. They're just going to buy what they want and they're going to move on with their day.
Which totally makes sense. And one of the brands that was referenced in stuff that I was reading about this was Brunello Cucinelli. And while there are some things that are loud in Brunello Cucinelli, horrible, right? If you don't know, we've sold something pretty...
Newspaper vest is awful.
It's pretty horrifying. There are also things that are just very understated. Cashmere sweaters and sweater vests and things that are just beautiful and wonderful top quality, but I mean, you wouldn't know.
Loro Piana,
yeah. You wouldn't know. But ones that I would say are loud would be Burberry.
Gucci's the biggest offender in my mind.
Recently, at a graduation, we saw a Fendi bag that I would say is loud.
Fendi, Balenciaga is just atrocious.
Yeah, so those would be the differences. So I definitely think it's something that is trending because people don't want to shove it in your face. I think it probably is seen as insensitive to the economy. But on a smaller scale, I think we've all experienced this, right? I mean, okay, I'm aging myself, but we're millennials, right? And we've all had this moment back in high school, you know, like let's think about it. We had Gap sweaters that said Gap.
It's free branding. I mean, the Abercrombie and Fitch AF, like it was loud in your face, and we all did it.
Yeah. Speak for yourself. But that wasn't luxury, but it was absolutely saying, hey, I can afford to shop at these brands. Yeah. I'm super cool. I'm super popular. Look at me. And then there were other people that were like, no, I'm not going to do that. I refuse to wear branding. I just refuse. And this is, I feel like that same dichotomy of people saying, hey, look at me. I have the money versus, no, I mean, I have money and I'm going to wear nice clothing, but please don't look at me.
I think that's the way to go for my personal taste is to not give free advertising to a brand that
I already give them enough money.
Yeah, I've already handed them over an ungodly amount of money. So, no, I'm not going to... I don't like this on my car. I don't want the name of the dealership on my car. I don't want any of that. I don't want... No, just nondescript, just blank canvas is the way to go.
Right. So, for my luxury sellers out there, I'm curious if you've noticed a shift from your loud luxury items to your quiet luxury items. How are you seeing more of those quiet luxury items being sold in your closets? Does this seem to match what you're seeing? I'd really be curious to know. Please let me know in the comments. The other trend that I want to talk about, it's not really a trend where it's like, you know, a core or an aesthetic, but it's something you need to be putting in your listings right now. And I mean, like, after this video, go and do it immediately. But it is red, white, and blue patriotic keywords.
Yeah. So it's the holidays that are coming up. It's 4th of July, Memorial Day. It's all of the somber American occasions where that is going to drive traffic to your store. So you want the red, white, and blue. You want all of those keywords, American, patriotic, etc. Because that's the audience. That's where you're going to get the person to buy.
Yeah, and now this came to us because I sold a Storybook Knits sweater very recently, and it was red, white, and blue, and it was literally made for 4th of July, or that's how I saw it in my head. And so I posted a reel about it, and I was like, guys, 4th of July, people are shopping, I guess. Like, it's coming. Didn't even think to myself that Memorial Day is coming around the corner. And you guys let me know in the comments that it's happening. And I realized that Memorial Day is actually something I'm missing out on. That's a keyword I should be using.
I mean, there's Memorial Day and there's also Veterans Day. That is another time of the year. So there's multiple holidays that you're going to be able to capture that.
Yeah, so if you have red, white, and blue items that you haven't listed yet, please do that now. You've got about a week. So let's go. Snap. Get that done. America, patriotic, 4th of July, Memorial Day, celebration, all of those type of things. You want to make sure that they're in there and make sure red, white, and blue is actually there. Don't make mistakes like I do where I put the 2 colors that Poshmark allows and put red and blue, and then I never mention the white because there's only 2 categories. Make sure you write it. So yeah, get that done. Don't forget, it is important. Memorial Day is coming and people are shopping.
So this next topic is going to be something that we've covered quite a bit on our channel. So this is Poshmark having been acquired by Naver and some news related to that transaction. Naver announced that their revenues are up based primarily on the acquisition of Poshmark, which that means that Poshmark was able to move the needle on Naver's bottom line. And that is a big story because we've all been experiencing problems with Poshmark, with the promoted listings, with all of the things that are going on. And to know that it is actually moving the bottom line in a positive direction means that they're going to keep doing these things. What does this mean? Promotions are going to be here to stay. Live sales are not going anywhere. Live sales are where they are seeming to push, and push in a very big way. And we are all just going to have to either adapt or find a new platform.
So I was actually surprised about this news. I really, really thought that Naver wasn't going to see an increase, at least for a few quarters.
Yeah, I think this is surprising, especially with all of the really negative press that Poshmark has been getting in the reselling community especially. I think it is important to note that there is kind of an insular factor to the reselling community, and that is not representative of Poshmark as a whole.
Yeah, so I think we do need to remember that we are not all of Poshmark, and we have to take stock of our own businesses, and we have to make decisions that are best for us. And I'm definitely not saying that because of this you should stay on Poshmark. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that Poshmark is going to do what they're going to do, and we need to do what we're going to do. So
yeah, I think it comes down to either adapting and doing what they want you to do, or finding a way to avoid using Poshmark.
Yes, exactly. So the news is in. Naver is doing well with the Poshmark acquisition. Things are going good for them, so that means things are probably going to stay in the direction that they're in. If you didn't know that Poshmark was bought out by Naver and you don't know who we're talking about or what is going on, make sure you check out our video where we cover everything that happened with the acquisition, when, why, how, where, all of that. The link is on the screen now.